Yeah, so let's do our first introduction.
First, we have Joey Anisete from Nonstop Boogie. And then we have Lawrence, aka DJ Renz, from Nonstop Boogie and Style Beyond Compare.
And then we got Orlando from Sounds of Success and Nonstop Boogie.
And lastly, we have Rene Agnes from Electric Sounds.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Yes. So, how you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Good.
Great, bro. Great, bro. Excited.
As I like to start this off, I like to ask you guys how you guys got started into DJing. Let's start off with Rene.
Oh, okay. Well, it was freshman year of high school. I went to Lowell, and all my buddies from middle school went to Bal, Tiger and Jupiter and Joel Mercado. And Alfredo's brother, Fando, was in a group called Sound Explosion. And on the first weekend of high school, they threw a garage party. And that was my first exposure to DJing. They had explosions, they were mixing, never seen anything like it, disco ball, everything. And that was the first taste. And the guys started getting interested. I was kind of on the outside looking in. So they were the ones who actually formed the group. But they didn't form it till a couple of months later. But yeah, that's where we first got exposed. Then we went to another party in California Hall. It was Sound Explosion again. And shortly thereafter, and probably like around the second week of December, we decided to form a group. And that's
Nice.
how we came up with Electric Sounds. This was junior prom. I believe this was 1980. That's me to the left, Rico Benopayo next to me. In the middle is Tiger Tapia, Joel Mercado, and then Jupiter Tapia to the right, and then Alfredo Ruelas on his knees. We're missing Augie and Ted Kubinar there.
Let's go to Joey.
I just want to first
yes.
send my condolences to my co-founder Willie Sparks. His father, Lee Sparks, recently passed away on Friday. Mr. Sparks helped us get started with some of our gear and the transportation, and also one of our OG crews, Ed Blaza, who suffered a stroke last month, and he's been hospitalized at San Mateo Medical Center. So I just want to send some positive vibes and love and some condolences to the family. Anyway, like Rene, we were exposed to the DJing phenomenon early on with Sound Explosion. Sound Explosion, a lot of the guys there, we actually went to school with at Balboa within the ROTC program. And they did a after school party at the school cafeteria, December of 1978. And that's when they blew up. And they started doing a lot of other stuff after that, like the party at California Hall. But me and Willie were inspired by that, and we threw a garage party early '79 at his house. Well, made this homemade disco ball with some flashlights for the spotlights, and we started when we were 15, 16 years old, and then we just grew from there and grew our crew. And Nonstop Boogie's still around to this day with Orlando and his third generation of guys,
So let's go with Orlando. So you're part of two crews. You eventually joined Nonstop Boogie, but then you were originally from Sounds of Success, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But for a couple of years, maybe a few years, we didn't have a DJ name. It was just a group of guys, playing music, garage parties, private parties. One of our first DJ parties ever was one of my neighbors, a Samoan family. It was a birthday party. This was, I'm thinking, late 70s. And, they noticed that we played music a lot, because I was one of those guys who walk around the neighborhood with a boombox. So they asked us, hey, you guys play music? I was like, oh, yeah. So I was telling my guys that I went to middle school with, say, hey, let's put all this stereo equipment together and do some gigs, So shout out to Onofre Lopez, Gerardo Lopez. We went to school with Gerardo. I asked him to ask his brother, hey, can you ask your bro if we could, use his equipment to his home stereo to do this party. I think it'll be cool, right? So he let us use it, and that's where it began. I mean, the DJ thing. But we've always been doing house parties, home stuff, just playing records. As a young kid, I was buying records. My mom and dad, they let me play with their stereo, and that's what lit the fire inside of me. Sounds of Success is from the band SOS.
Yes.
It came out in 1980. I met co-founder of SOS, Paul Sampson. His brother, Tony Sampson, was one of the DJs with Nonstop. And, you know, he's connected with Joey and those guys. So we got connected, and that song was hot that year. And I'm like, hey, I like that. You know, I like that tune. It caught me. And we put it on the jacket. It was just me and him for a little while. It was just me and him.
And DJ Ren, how about you?
I got into DJing because my cousin Ray Polito had a group called Futuristic Sounds. So I always used to hang out with my cousin, and the one that was mixing was Jonas Valdez. And he was the head DJ for Futuristic Sounds. So I seen him mixing. I said, man, that looks kind of cool, man. I said, I want to learn. So they would teach me, and I kind of sucked at it in the beginning. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And then when I got into high school, well, actually it was junior high, me and one of my best friends, Brad Lum, ended up, let's form something. And then we got into we didn't really have equipment. Then we started doing some pause mixing, which was kind of weak, but that's how that started. And then we came out with, I think about in 83 was Rhythmic Evolution. We just formed this group. Then we battled Total Control. And that's actually SIPnJAM. If you see on the bottom there, that's actually Rick Lee. DJL was my name because Lawrence. And then Brad was Boogie B. And the guy that drew this was actually Tony Yee. He went to Westmoor High School as well. We started Rhythmic Evolution with Ron Maniquil was part of it. We kind of parted. And then he ended up going to Spintronics, which they were forming their stuff at that same time too in 1984. And then after that, we was it 1984? Me and Brad decided to let's start something else. Myself and Brad, and then there was Roji, and then there was Eddie Boy Montemayor, and then Tony Yee was trying to start a graffiti crew, which the name he was going to name it Style Beyond Compare. So he didn't really get anybody, to get in whatever he was building. So I guess Eddie Boy asked him if we could use a name as a DJ, because we're going to start a DJ crew. He said we could use it. So that's how we ended up with Style Beyond Compare. So, this crew started forming really quickly, and then everybody wanted to be on the card. So we got 12 people on the card.
Yeah.
We had to make everybody happy, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody wanted their name on the damn card. So okay, man, we'll put your name on there. It ain't gonna be your number, but your name's on the card. SBC always had to be different. We always had to come out the box and do something different than other crews. As far as the design of Style Beyond Compare, I actually drew that out. I used to be a graffiti artist, tagging and doing all the bad stuff that you're not supposed to do.
What happened from there?
Nothing. It was just, the group just got bigger. Also, we always hung around Balboa too, because they had Infinite Images, they had Sound Invasion, Spinning Images, which they were in also with Westmoor as well, which is TJ. Mm-hmm. So, and then Bobby Speed, rest in peace. He fortunately passed away a while back. But he was he was actually a real good DJ too, Mm-hmm. But all of us were really close friends, I mean, we were all a diverse group, Mm-hmm. We all argued like family members, I mean, we had our differences, but we would work through them, Mm-hmm. I mean, it was it's a big brotherhood.
So I just kind of want to lay this out for everyone, right? So, like I mentioned, a lot of these crews started in the early 80s. Obviously, when it came to the mid 80s and the late 80s, it was just a DJ explosion. There were tons of crews and everything. A lot of you guys got inspired by a sound explosion. What made you guys want to do that? Was it just they look cool, they look like rock stars, or?
Well, exactly, right? So we thought, well, we can do this, and good way to meet the girls. Right.
Yeah.
And then network to the other high schools, and that's when we started branching out and meeting other people. within the other high schools. And plus, in being an ROTC, you were already meeting other people from the other schools because you were competing against them, 2-3 times a year. So you're meeting some of those people and getting to know them, and then building that network. Like we had girlfriends from Lowell High School, and so we sort of built that camaraderie, and as well as being able to get some gigs out of those high school. So you build that out, and word just got out, and word of mouth, and we're doing several gigs a year with different schools and different Filipino American programs or different organizations within the schools. So it was a great way to meet people, branch out, and expand our network.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's also part of it is just the evolution of the parties. You went from when you're throwing the garage party, everybody was trying to outdo everybody to see who could throw the better garage party, and have a better party. And then when somebody started hiring the DJs, they incorporated turning the garage into a nightclub atmosphere. So that was part of the draw. That was the part of the draw, was just going to the best parties and trying to throw the best parties.
Yeah.
Right. You went from the garages to the small halls to the bigger halls, and then next thing you know, you're doing some big halls in hotels.
Yes, that's just how it just kept on evolving.
Yeah.
So let's go back real quick. So, what was all of your guys' first piece of equipment you guys had? Like, did you guys all go to? Was Radio Shack already around at the time, or where'd you guys get the equipment?
Yeah. So there was a Radio Shack, Spritzer Music, and Guitar Center for the music gear, the AV, the audio gear, and then you had some special lighting companies like Holtzmuller and Radio Shack. So if you wanted the cheap strobe lights and things
Phoebus
like that, Phoebus lighting. Yeah. So we go to the clubs like Palladium and Studio West, and you look at their lights and you find out where they got those from. So you get the same stuff. So our tagline was, nonstop boogie, a new dimension in mobile discotheque, because we were trying to emulate that feel of a disco at Studio West. So if you look at that bar there, we built all that stuff by hand. We used galvanized gas pipes to build our truss before trusses became popular, and you didn't have money, so you just build it yourself. So we're buying the same spinners and the rotating spotlights that you found at the clubs.
Well, you know what? I want to interject something, because I'm not gonna lie, that was part of the challenge back then, is to be taken seriously when you go to a store to try to buy something or go try to rent lights. So
because you guys were like teenagers, basically, right?
Yeah, basically teenagers.
We were still in high school, no jobs,
We were stealing those things.
Hey, we weren't stealing. We weren't stealing. We're borrowing.
borrowing. Sorry.
No. They were sponsors. They were sponsors. Shout out to the sponsors.
Those light bars above those Yamaha speakers, I think those were borrowed. Everything else was probably bought. That turntable coffin was homemade. You got some plywood, and we bought some of the same stuff that they use, the cloth fabric and the corner guards. So we custom fabricated all that stuff in-house. That case of the anvil box that's in the front there with our logo on it, those were actually getting thrown out by Harry McCune. They're an AV company in the city where Willie's girlfriend, they lived on Minna Street or Natoma Street or one of the alleys, and they were throwing stuff out, and we just picked them up. They're perfectly usable.
Wow.
So yeah, we picked up a lot of stuff. Our light board was homemade. Everything was homemade. Sneakers, man. Orlando kept blowing out the tweeters on those, man.
My bad.
Seriously, man. We'd have to go to that shop on Howard Street and get them replaced every time. It was like $50 every time. When you had to swap out the parts, you get a new woofer, replace it, or a new tweeter. And you notice the record cases borrowed the local Safeway, right?
So by the end of this, y'all were like master welders, master carpenters.
Yeah.
Electricians.
Everything prefabricated back then. There was no such thing as a DJ coffins back then. So
right, exactly.
Everything was built from scratch, definitely.
Yeah. So you custom built it based on your turntables and whatever mixer you got.
Mm-hmm.
And then our amp rack was the same thing. That was custom built.
If you guys want to talk about the turntables, because I was mentioning this earlier, there wasn't pitch control on a lot of them, or at least the ones you started on.
The first equipment that we had was literally those home hi-fi stereo systems from Radio Shack. On our first gig, we had 2 stereo systems side by side with the speakers side by side, and we were literally turning down the volume on one stereo, turning up the volume on the other. There was absolutely no pitch. It was belt drive. So then we upgraded to the SLD2. That was the first direct drive. The pitch was a wheel, so it wasn't the slides. So very hard to match beats, but you know what? We learned and you adapt. And then I think it wasn't until a few years later. When did the 1200 start appearing? Not till 82, 83 maybe.
Yeah, that's about when we could afford them.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Do you guys remember how much they cost back then?
400, yeah.
Yeah, they're about 400 a piece.
And you got to remember, guys, everyone in the chat, that's, with inflation now, that's a lot.
I was just reading the new 1200s that they have. They're like $4,000 because the old dies that were used to build them, they were all thrashed, and so they have to build new dies to manufacture the new 1200s, and they're like $4,000. So that's crazy. Wow. But we started with my uncle's JVC turntable, so they're direct drive. So that means you turn it on and it just spins. So if you stop it, you could break the turntable, right? And this was before the anti-static mats went into vogue. So you can actually hold the record, and with the anti-static mat, the record will just it'll stop, but the turntable will keep spinning. But yeah, there was no pitch control, just on off, and it was a 2-speed, 33 or 45 RPM, which was cool because we used 45 RPM records back then too. And then we had a home receiver, I think it was a Rotel, and some Sorwin Vegas home speakers as well. And that was pretty much it. And I think I can't remember if we used the Newmark or a Radio Shack mixer to begin with. It was one of those two.
Yeah.
2-channel.
Was it the Realistic, right? You said?
Possibly? It might have been, yeah.
It sounds like a lot of you guys started on the Realistic.
So it was affordable, right?
Yeah. So actually, Orlando sent me some pictures. You guys are also electricians, self-taught electricians.
Self-taught.
Right?
One of my close family friends, Romel Ruaro, he helped me with this whole design. Where the modern outlets are, Al Perfecto actually added that later on in its life so we could do a gig with Apollo. They're grounded. It's legit. That was up to 1972 code there. Ungrounded. Hey, it was shock and learn.
Shock and learn. That's it.
Shock and learn. Shock and learn, or you blow out something. That's and all these
we
things.
Blow out a lot of fuses.
And all these things, when everything was connected to it, it's like I couldn't understand why. How come everything turned off?
You don't have a main fuse, man. You gotta have a main fuse.
That's when we figured out. Oh, we blew out a fuse. So that's where we learned how to go find the fuse breakers. Because of blowing them out. And just like Joey said, I blew out the tweeters in the Yamahas. I blew out the tweeters in honor phrase home stereo speakers, the Fishers that he let us use. I blew out the tweeters the first gig we had.
Also, you're talking about the top of
Damn.
That was the extra paneling that we didn't use at my house at the time.
we actually built a box. One of the other crew guys, Ted Harper, his grandfather was a sheet metal worker, and he had stamped some sheet metal for us that we built, and Willie's dad helped us with the wiring. And we had several toggle switches on that as well. But I don't think we ever put a master fuse in that, but so we just blow out. But we use that too to control the those flash powder explosions that you've heard about, that you can buy at the theater shop over in Union Square. And you basically get 2 screws on a piece of wood, and then you cross a thin wire across that, and then you put the powder on top of that, and you just fire up the switch, and it'll flash the powder. And so we had some funny instances with that too. Sometimes it wouldn't go off for whatever reason. Maybe the wire was too thick, or somebody was standing close by to the powder, and somebody's hair caught on fire, or somebody's sweater got burned or something.
I can't get over that paneling, man. Because you know what? A Filipino made that, man, because every Filipino had that paneling in their house.
And you know why the lines are going that way? We use that as the guide to stay straight.
Oh my God!
Oh man.
Those are Radio Shack switches, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Dude, that's the original wood, man.
That's how you learn how to solder and shit, you know?
Yeah, leave it to Joe. Leave it to Joe.
Oh man, yeah.
If you want to explain how your buddy figured out how to do the chasers.
So Romel, his dad was a handyman, so he did everything, and he pretty much did everything he did. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I know how to make the lights chase. You'll just use this knob here where it says chaser, and I'll connect it to the outlets, and then we'll make the lights chase after each other." And we even had dimmers in it. We ended up using that dimmer on a disco ball motor, so you could actually control the speed of the disco ball. Slow it down, speed it up. You could actually stop it.
Amazing stuff. And then I think you sent this to. Was this the first mixer you guys had, or?
God damn.
Yes, yeah. That goes for like $75 on eBay in mint condition. Orlando, he'd loop wannabe starting something like 50 times.
Hey, Lando, do you still have that 12-inch record with the bullet hole in it?
I do. I was looking for that. I stayed up to like 5:30 last night, man, and trying to find that record. And
Yeah, he was doing a gig. He was doing a house party.
we were doing a house party. Rene, you were with us at that house party, bro.
Oh, the one in El Sobrante.
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
It was me
Yeah.
and you on the. It was me and you on the 12s. We were playing music.
Yep.
And those guys and the guys that dude that forced the garage open, man, were they were uninvited and they were pissed and they forced open the garage and I saw the gun and I said gun and then what I remember from that is you ducked and I went over you.
Yeah, the bullet barely missed us.
It went right over us, bro.
Inches. Yeah.
What year was that?
I was around 81, maybe 81.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
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 That was Perry's house.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Perry's
Yeah,
house.
Elsa brought it. I was gonna say Pinole, but
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was the crazy thing about those garage parties. You never know, who was going to show up.
you never know what you're gonna get. Yes.
Oh no, you know what it was? Hercules. It was Hercules.
Hercules?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the gangs was Hercules boys, I believe.
if you guys can kind of mention what area you guys grew up in and what high school you went to.
Westmoor is Daly City.
Lowell, but I grew up in Excelsior.
Okay.
So EGE and went to Lowell in the avenues.
Yeah, so I went to Balboa. Yeah,
Enjoy.
Balboa is in the outer mission near the Excelsior. Yeah, it was known for a lot of the 70s gang violence and whatnot, and it still was in the 80s as well.
Yeah.
Now it's like one of the best schools now.
Right, exactly, right? Go figure, man.
I went to Balboa as well.
Yeah, Balboa is like the breeding ground for those Phil-Am DJ groups, man. I think
Yeah.
they had like 3 or 4 within that 1 year.
Same with Westmoor, same thing.
Let's talk about that. Like, I guess the environment at that time in the areas you guys grew up in, as far as the gangs.
Some of the gangs saw us as a threat. I don't know why. We're there to provide music, but they would start trouble with us because we were the DJs, and I'm not sure what the motivation was for that. That's actually how our band ended up getting disbanded because one of our members, Tiger Tapia, was shot and killed at a gig that we were doing. So that was the end of Electric Sounds.
Yeah, and those guys were uninvited too. Right? They couldn't get in, so
Yeah, that was basically the problem with garage parties is you'd invite people and then so other people would find out about it and they'd show up uninvited and cause problems. We did a party at Mission High School, which is in the Mission District, Mission Dolores in San Francisco. And we were breaking down and loading up our van and some dude showed up, Filipino dudes, right? I'm sure they're affiliated with some gang, but they started causing trouble and they stabbed one of our guys, Willie.
his wallet saved him though. His wallet saved him.
Luckily, San Francisco General was just down the road and he took him there. He was fine. Yeah. I mean,
And Merle got hit with a bottle. And Merle got hit with a bottle.
Yeah.
We both rushed to SF General.
Yeah.
Merle Yaton, shout out to her.
Yeah. It was his birthday the other day, so yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff like that happened all the time in the 80s. You had different gangs. You had a lot of new immigrants coming in. I think a lot of that, we saw that at Val. A lot of the new Filipino immigrants that were trying to make a name for themselves and, you know, doing some of that. And there were gang fights there. There were gang fights between different schools as well.
Yeah.
You know, so that happened quite a bit. I remember my older brother that went to Lowell. He was, you know, he knew some guys and they had, you know, they were like the Oakland boys and the Frisco boys, you know, Filipino gangs, the Bahalana gang, the BNG. Yeah. So
LVM.
LVM, yeah, that's another one.
LVM, TIG.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
In that note, though, I know a lot of DJs have said, you know, music and DJing kind of saved them from kind of getting, you know, caught up in that. Even though it was kind of still around you, it still was a way for you guys to kind of focus your energies and whatnot.
Yeah. Let me look. I want to touch on that real quick. So as much as we try to stay out of trouble, the trouble would find its way, to us. We were having a house party. It was just basically just a house party that my buddy Roy Lopez.
Oh, damn.
It was it was our it was a karate group. He taught karate. It was called the group was called Laging Una. Right. So Madam Roy is like, hey, let's have a just a get together, and just hang out. So we were hanging out at his house, and lo and behold, man, a car full of dudes show up, and they ended up squabbing right outside, right out in the street. But the guy, I'm not going to say any names, or any gang names, but the guy that came to start the crap, he got it handed to him. He took his shirt off and everything, man. You can see all the punch marks on his chest, but he got it handed to him. But like I said, as much as we were trying to get away from things, it showed up. It absolutely showed up around the block from my house over by the Cow Palace. Me and Paul went to go check out a house party around the block. Noel Villanueva, DTL.
Oh,
he was DJing the garage party, and we went over to check that out, and some uninvited dude came in, and all I remember hearing was somebody saying "spy" as he was coming down the stairs, and then this dude, I guess he was the monong of the house. He came out his downstairs room, which was with a trip. He just showed up. And that was the first time I seen somebody get pistol whipped. Scary as hell, and then so basically the party ended, he kicked everybody out. And me and Paul left. And as we were going down the block to go back around to my house, why did he shoot at us?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like a movie, ching, ching, ching. It was crazy. So it's nuts, man, how we were able to dodge those bullets. Rene, me and you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that one was close.
Very, brother. Very. Yeah. Our heads were just below the crates. Right below the top of the crates. Yeah. That was crazy. And your records were safe, actually. Mine was the one that got shot.
You got an extra hole in it, man. Put it on charge.
Hey, thank you to the man upstairs. He was looking out. Yeah.
That's for sure.
But it took us out, though, man. The DJing thing took us out further away from it. I got so deep into it. That's all I concentrated on. That's all I wanted to do was DJ. I didn't pay too much attention of other crews, other parties. I just wanted to DJ and do our thing. But you know what?
Sonic Explosion was still big too.
Yeah.
But remember this: in 1980, actually, 79, 80, I believe Music Masters. I know for sure Dr. Funk they weren't even mixing it. They were
just doing fade in, fade out.
They were fading in, fading out.
But he was an awesome MC.
All right. Yeah, that's it.
All he had was 4 beacons, one in each corner. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. California Hall, that
and
place was huge.
Speakers.
Yeah, those column speakers, the PVs. Were they PVs
PVs.
or PVs?
Yeah, they were
PV
PVs.
speakers. Yeah.
Hey, but what made him shine so much, man? I wanted that echo thing that he had so bad.
Oh,
Because remember, at the end of every gig, it'd be like Doctor Funk, 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 Funk. It would just keep going till the people are almost gone.
Yeah.
I was like, how do we get that?
Yeah.
That's true.
So let's move on from you guys were talking. You guys kind of started obviously doing a lot of garage parties, right? And then eventually graduated to like halls and like larger venues. So I want to show real quick for a lot of people, if you guys remember this. So we had the competition of DJs. This was in 1982. This was Nonstop Boogie, Studio Sounds, Ultimate Creations, and the Go-Go's, the all-female DJ group.
That was like one of the first battles around.
Yeah. So
imagine.
it came from what, the Junior Optimist Club of Balboa High, right?
Right.
So that's the one of the epicenters of Filipino DJ crews or DJ crews.
You know what? To predate that, we actually had a battle with Electric Sounds, Nonstop Boogie, SOS.
Isn't that a Masonic call? Not Masonic, Stephanium off of San Jose Avenue.
In 1981, 1981 or 80, because that was when Tiger was still alive, and that was our last battle before we lost Tiger. So we shared the stage that day. Yeah. And when we approached the Lowell Film Club, we said you should make it into a competition, and that's how I think they came up with it. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's how they came up with it.
Okay. So yeah, let's go back to that then. So that the first battle that at least you guys remember, how did it go, and do you remember anything from it, or who won?
Oh,
I remember one.
A bit to it.
We won. We won.
Wasn't that when you borrowed those? Was that when you borrowed those La Scalas?
Oh well, no, the La Scalas were ours. The other two speakers we borrowed from Sonic Explosion, yeah. But that was the beginning of people getting more educated about the mix. That's the one thing I remembered, because people were a little bit more they knew what to look for, what to watch out for as far as the light show. That came into a big play. We pretty much on that one, I'm not gonna lie, we got coached by Sound Explosion. They gave us explosions. We had Edmund Pond doing pyrotechnics. He actually singed the back of my the hair on my back because I was DJing without a shirt, and he blew the flame at my back, and I felt it burn.
Edmund Pond is this Chinese kid that went to Bal, and he was a pyromaniac, man. He'd fill up balloons. He'd fill up balloons with helium and light them up in the school, inside the school. So you'd have these little miniature, what do you call it? Little atomic bomb explosions in bathrooms and shit. Yeah. Where is Edmund nowadays, man?
I do not know.
Fun dude, but man, he was, yeah.
So let's actually touch upon that too. So, I guess nowadays a lot of DJ battles are kind of more on, I guess, performance and technical, right? But then during that time, you're saying that it was judged on everything, like the lighting show, the performance of it, as well as the mixing. And how did it go since there were multiple crew members? Was it just one mixer, two mixers, or DJs mixing, or do you remember?
It was one per group.
Okay.
One per group, and then I believe, if I remember correctly, it was like you get a 30-minute set, then the next group went, and they judged it by that, how crowded the dance floor got, if I remember correctly. But I remember they did judge, and in that particular battle, they were judging the lights.
Yeah, I think it was more like a setup.
Yeah.
Setup, the mixing, and then crowd reaction.
Yeah, right.
So I think those were the three keys right there.
So the competition of DJs. Do you guys remember it? In Orlando, were you part of the group already by then?
You were the manager of the Go-Go's, right?
Wasn't Daphne in that?
Yes,
Daphne,
my wife was in that group. Daphne and Amy Celis was the main mixer. Then I believe Liza.
So Liza was my girlfriend at the time. Amy was with Noel, who I mentioned earlier, DTL. They became really good friends with Daphne, Becca, Tessa, Stella there too. They all were really, really tight. And they were around everybody DJing. I know Amy was always trying to get in their mix. But I don't know, Renee, do you know who came up with the idea amongst the girls to put a group together?
I know Daphne and Amy were there on the inception. So.
And Lila, yeah. Hey, but you know, with the Go-Go's happening, it brought us closer together, though. That's what I feel. I didn't really know who you were, you know, and
right.
It brought us all, you know, pretty tight. So it was real good.
Yep.
Real good to go through that.
And so Rene, you were already with your wife at that time.
To be honest, we just broke up at that time. We actually broke up when she was a go-go. That's when we went our separate ways.
She went a go-go, huh?
She went go-go.
For people who don't know, there's another girl group called Young and Tough. Orlando, can you tell us about how the battle between Young and Tough and the Go-Go's came about?
From what I remember, the Y&T group heard about the Go-Go group, and like anything else, somebody wanted to show who was better, and they got recruited together to do a battle to prove it. That's how that all went down.
Yeah. And here's that trophy.
That's it.
Yeah. So it says first annual battle of the lady DJs, first place. So Go-Go's didn't last that long, right? They kind of dissolved after a year or two.
Yeah, it didn't last that long. It kind of faded out.
I think part of it was like I know Stella graduated in '82, so
She was the eldest one.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, probably they got into, you know, getting into other things. Because there was a lot going. Everybody's senior year, everybody doing their own thing in the following year, 83 or 84.
Yeah, but there was always even after they stopped DJing, they still were tight.
So there was a battle between Nonstop and Futuristic Sounds at St. Augustine's. It was called the Battle of the DJs. Can you tell us about that?
I was already with Nonstop. And the group we battled was Lawrence's cousin Ray's group, the Futuristic Sounds. It was some rumor went out. This was all on some hate stuff, man. It was just like he said, she said stuff, and it turned actually ugly because you know, me and the main DJ we're no longer friends after that. But they called, you know, I was called out because some rumor went out saying that I guess I taught Jonas how to mix or DJ or whatever, and his response to that rumor was, "Oh, he didn't teach me da." And so, you know, news got back to both me and him, and then I got called out. I got called out to battle, and I said, "All right, that's cool, that's fine. You pick the place, you pick the time, you know." And he chose his home turf, home hall, St. Augustine's Hall, over here in Daly City. A lot of parties over there, but it was weird, man. I'm just gonna tell you what we all experienced. Is like one of the things was like, oh, nobody could set up until the day of. Then I got word.
Damn.
I got word that hey, Futuristic set up their stuff already. I'm like, what? So we drove over there, and man, we peeked through the blinds. Everything was set up. It was hella clean. I'm like, oh man, I thought we were supposed to be able to set up. Right? Remember that, Joey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then so man, and then we came in the next day for it. We were setting up, and they was just chilling. Right? So at the end of it all, you know, we went at it. So we went at it. And then another funny thing that happened there, man, it was one of the rules was no scratching. You guys remember that? And it was like no scratching.
Yeah, because then you all scratched. You know?
I was just still trying to learn. But then Jonas came out, and he was a wiggy wick, wiggy wick, wiggy wick, wiggy. I'm like, hey, I thought there was no scratching. Right. So after he did his thing, man, I came on with my thing, and I started off like that, and it was when I was doing my thing. What I remember was I remember Dr. Funk was there, McGill was there, and he came over when I was doing my thing, and he was just like cheering us on. You know, he was like, yeah, and then I just got up to it. Everything from there was kind of a blur. And I could hear the guys behind me, Joey and Willie and all them. They were like, go, go, go. And then at the end of that battle, you know, the crowd chose us. It was because it was based on crowd reaction, crowd motivation. It was basically the crowds. It was all left up to the crowd to decide who the winner was of that battle, and they chose us. I was like so pumped on that one. We were all pumped on that one.
So more battles started coming along, and then there was a big one that everyone always talks about. Imagine. I believe Nonstop Boogie, you guys participated in the third one, right?
Yeah, I think didn't you
I
guys?
think it had to be.
It was the third one, I think.
I believe it was the third one, Joey.
If you guys can kind of lay the groundwork, because I think you guys won that. Did you guys win that one?
That one is the one. Yeah, I won that one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was group on. Yeah, it was a group on group, but it was just like up to pretty much the DJ mixing, whoever was mixing. Yeah.
Do you guys remember your set and what music you guys kind of were playing at that time?
I'm sure Wannabe Starting Something was in it.
Oh, okay. So Imagine 3, when you guys won that, I think after that, you guys were saying that you guys stopped battling at that point. You guys kind of started doing more just mobile gigs. Is that correct?
Yeah, we went all corporate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? And you know what, Joey? Thanks to you and your playlist, man. You had the OG playlist, which I learned from you, and you told me. I remember you telling me
you gotta do the OG stuff.
You gotta bring the OG stuff, and you know what? So what if it's the 18th birthday? You gotta make the people that are paying for it happy.
Exactly. So that was my thing is. Whoever's paying you, you got to handle the request, whether it's the old cha-chas or whatever. We even played some of the old Filipino classics like Rico Puno and Haji and all that. Cinderella, yeah, all the OPL stuff. And then we did a lot of mixture of rock and new wave and modern new wave and 80s stuff. And you always have to have all the disco stuff too, because that's what the Filipinos love, the cha-chas.
That was your set, man, the 80s stuff, man.
Yeah. That's one of our first cards right there. Electric Sounds, Fredo, Joel Mercado, Fredo. Now, Fredo's older brother was Fernando with the Sound Explosion.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So a lot of these crew names kind of had explosion or sounds, something related to music or something going boom, right? So how did you guys come up with Electric Sounds?
If I remember correctly, part of it was because we were affiliated with Sound Explosion, so that's how we came up with sounds. And we were just saying, okay, what has to do with sounds? And we just said electric. Okay, electric sounds. I think that's how we came up with it. Nothing special.
Okay. And then, so we already talked about how Sounds of Success, how they came about. Nonstop Boogie.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think it was just knowing that the music was in the mix all the time. Nonstop music, nonstop boogie. Just going to the clubs and knowing that, to really get the people dancing all the time, you got to keep the music in the mix.
Let's go back to the vinyl stuff real quick. Because obviously, I think for you earlier guys, they weren't record pools yet, but there were record stores. What are the memorable record stores that you guys remember crate digging at, or
Gramophone,
Creative Madness,
Aloha Records,
Aloha,
Tower,
yeah, Record Factory. Amoeba,
Evans
Music, yeah.
Was that Woozy Records or Woozy Records?
Wowzy.
Wowzy Records.
Music Land.
Yeah.
Y'all remember Music Land? It was in the malls.
Do you? Obviously, because there were a lot of crews already at the time, right? And was it hard finding the records that you guys wanted to find? And do you guys have relationships with those record stores? Because I've heard this happen before too. You know.
Yeah, usually some of the big songs you usually hear them at the club first or in the radios, and they wouldn't be out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you couldn't find it at the store, you'd call the radio station and have them play it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can record it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, otherwise, yeah, you'd have to go shop around. There are different like remixes and singles that you could only find at different certain types of stores that carry the 12-inch singles.
Mm-hmm.
Or some stores have the like the promotional vinyl that you can get anywhere. So if you can find those are great. And only certain stores have those. And then we borrowed from some of those stores too.
Yes, the favorite term you guys use, borrowing.
Sponsors.
Yeah, but yeah, back then, pre-record pool, you had to be a record store junkie a little bit, and because it was big to find that mix that was different from the others that was out there, or that remixed record or whatnot, you know, special 12-inch vinyl, and that's what made you unique if you find certain songs, and a lot of times like Aloha was big for that for me.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! It could only be like a little verse on the record that you could use.
Tower Records had a record pool too. They're a big store on Bay Street. Some of the records we got overseas, like Willie's brother was he was a Marine, but anyway, he was overseas and he sent us some 45s from overseas that like the Turning Japanese, you know, by the Vapors. That wasn't even out yet. We got that and we played that, and we were rocking the Devo glasses one time with our jackets.
Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember Ron's Records and Market?
Yeah, Ron's Records.
Ron's Records.
Ron's Records in Aloha. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Actually, so going back to this, because now it's reminding me of certain questions I was wanting to ask, but because you were talking about, I guess, sabotage, right, during certain battles. Did you guys also have to? Because I know this happened in the later years, but did you guys have to conceal the names of your records by covering tape or anything, so that the other crews wouldn't know? You know,
nah, because you usually wouldn't let other people get up on your stage or wherever.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't let anybody get near your record crates. That was a big thing. Whatever set I was doing, that was sealed tight until it was time to go.
So when you came up with your sets, how long did it take you guys to practice your sets? If you remember.
Days,
weeks.
Oh yeah, depending on how big the gig was. If it was a battle, it would be weeks. If it was just normal practicing, I could come up with a set in a couple of days. You know, that would, you know, I'd be satisfied with. But a week is like if you really want it to be kind of clean.
Yeah, depending on who the client was too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you always go back and make changes too.
Yeah.
You know, because I was very OCD when it came from mixing.
Hey, one thing I didn't do back in the days, man, is I never did the mixtapes. Because I was always afraid that somebody else would pick it up and bite mixing.
You know what? That happened to me. I'm not going to say the DJ group's name, but I found out.
Tell us later.
They were trying for a Lowell dance, and then
Must have been nonstop.
One of the officers played the tape, and I was like, "Hey, that's my tape," and they were using it to land the gig.
Yeah, we didn't give out demo tapes again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show this flyer real quick. You guys can see High Fidelity and then special mixer Rene Agnes.
They brought me in to open up that dance. I DJ'd the first hour to 2 hours, or High Fidelity took over. Yeah, they advertised it as guest DJ or whatever. Yeah. I said, sure, I'll come in. It was funny. It was a different time already. You know, It was more into the hip hop sound.
Yeah.
You know, and I was still doing freestyle.
Man, look at that. So this picture here is that we finally got a gig in our own school in Westmoor. That's myself. There's Guy, Hiroji on the far right. Then myself right there with my hands up with some tight ass jeans.
He had the huggers on. He had the huggers.
Skinny jeans before they even came popular.
So the one in the back there, that's Big Rock. Right beside him is Guy. And the one that's kneeling right there, that's Bradley Lum. And he's actually a comedian now. And he's an entrepreneur.
So let's talk about like the crews that kind of came out of your schools, like eventually. And like you said, you're like, oh, especially for you, right? At Westmoor, you're like, oh, we finally landed a gig, because at Westmoor, that was another like, hot spot. What were the crews that came from Westmoor?
So the crews down in Westmoor was actually ourselves, Fintronics, A Touch of Class. I know Apollo was actually going to that school for a little bit. He was a little older than us.
Unlimited Sounds.
ESP is from there too.
For Balboa, there were a lot of crews that kind of came from there as well. And Lowell, right? So if you guys can name the crews that came from Balboa.
Sound
Non-stop.
SOS, Electric Sounds, Go-Go's. Can't remember the name of Albert Q and Robert Padua.
Was that?
Yeah,
Studio
that was the
Sound?
other group. That was the fourth group that was in that battle.
Was that Studio Sound?
Yeah.
Studio Sounds, right? Yeah,
Studio
Albert.
Sounds, right?
Yeah, Albert and Robert and Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sound Explosion started it all, man.
Yeah.
The Restaros and Chris Talibaa and Fernando Morales.
Yeah.
Cool dudes.
Q-Bert's original crew, Lifestyle Productions. Was what it
Oh
was.
yeah.
They're from Bal.
Just hearing all these crews, right?
It sounds like there were a lot of DJ crews at these schools. How was it seeing other DJ crews at school?
We had jackets,
jackets or like uniforms. Were you guys kind of representing, kind of like
You had
In
the
the
tightest
early
one.
days of DJing, everybody had the jackets with their names on it. And that's why we would get either confused as gangs or confused as strutters because of the jackets that we wore. Because we would wear the Sir Jacks, if you remember Orlando and Joe, the Sir Jacks and the members onlys with the embroidery on it.
Yeah, the derby jackets. Yeah.
I sent you a picture on that one with the Sounds of Success jacket on. It'll show Sir Jacks and the members only that Renee's talking about. Let me shout out my Kuya right here. He's wearing all green, Honor Lopez. He's the one that let us borrow his gear. And I'm standing next to his brother, Junior Lopez. And then Ray is right here in the green jacket. And Romel helped with our electrician work. He's standing right behind Junior in the white. And shout out to my man, Nero. He's standing behind me, man. Rest in peace. Dude, that blue one looked like a Sir Jack. But I'm wearing the members only, and so is JoJo next to me. And it was
So
about
real
the
quick-
Wilson leather jackets, man. You graduated to a Wilson leather jacket. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, man. If you had that leather jacket, man, you were kind of just labeled as a gang member.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yep.
Well,
Right.
that and ski jackets.
Yeah, that and the see, like them baggy ass, pants, like right there, the pleated baggies right there, man.
Ski
That was a
jackets.
combination.
Yeah, ski jackets and pleated pants.
Yeah.
yeah.
And shout out to my man right here in the shades, Danny Doomlau, man. He was very inspirational.
Oh, Danny Doomlau, man.
Danny Doomlau, yeah.
So
So
I love a basketball player.
He had my six, man.
Nice. So real quick though, so this was all Sounds of Success.
It was me and Romel Jr. Jojo ran around with us a little bit. Rene, he ran around with us a little bit, even though he was futuristic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But my man right there, Honor Frey, man, he's the one that left it. He trusted us with the gear, even though we blew out his tweeters and stuff. And
You and the tweeters, bro.
I found out the limits of a receiver, man. I was fanning that thing, fanning it with a record.
With all of these DJ crews at the schools, did all of these groups get along?
I think early on there was a little bit of animosity. Yeah, sure. But later on, since we were like friends of friends, and we had friends that were girlfriends of other friends, and we all just sort of got along and say, hey, it is what it is, and then we had mutual friends that died or went away, and so we were just respect for everybody.
For sure.
Yeah, that's how I got adopted into Nonstop Boogie. It's like, Willie's like, hey man, we gotta stop battling each other, and we just gotta become
Yeah, that was just
one group,
it
man.
was just another natural evolution when we all started doing professional gigs
Right.
and got out of the high school dances and parties and whatnot.
Mhm.
That's when everybody started just being a little bit, closer to each other and get,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but for the most part of it all, man, we got along at Bal, which was beautiful.
That's good.
You know,
That's good.
and,
And and Lawrence, I believe you were saying that you guys actually, for SBC, you guys borrowed a lot of gear from Sound Sequence, Creative Madness.
Yeah, they actually helped us out a lot during the time we were trying to come up. Every time we needed something, they was there.
And how
Yeah.
did you guys connect with them?
I don't know, you're in the DJ scene, so
SBC Rick Lee says you met them through renting.
yeah, okay.
Awesome. So were there any other memorable battles? Any other memorable events?
Well, we did Total Control when
Yeah.
we went against them in Holy Angels. We actually won that one.
As Style Beyond Compare, you guys battled Total Control.
Right. I remember Ed and Brad did a beatbox performance. I don't know if we went 2 rounds with that. Yeah, I faintly remember the mixes though, but I remember the performance of the beatboxing and all that stuff. Because at the time, Big Rob was actually Total Control.
Okay.
there was a battle that I did in '82. Yeah, that was memorable for me because in the middle of my set, somebody unplugged my power. Third place for somebody pulling the plug.
I think I remember that one. I was at that gig.
When I went back to where I was plugged in, there were some dudes from the other group that was there, the other groups that was, and then I'm like, "What's up?" Yeah, nobody knew nothing, so it magically must have came unconnected to the wall. I don't know. Couldn't blame nobody.
Yeah, but I've heard that happen a lot, like especially at the Imagine battles. A lot of times.
Oh, there was a lot of hate.
Yeah, people having to basically send some of their crew members to kind of protect the outlets. Yeah, so
I started taping. I started from that experience till this day.
We taped everything down.
Everything is taped to the wall, taped to the floor.
So you did mention it in here, Joey. You basically you were with Nonstop Boogie,
right?
And then
so I moved to Sacramento.
Yep.
So I sort of lost touch with everybody, and Willie and Orlando basically took over the crew. Okay. And then I got invited to a wedding, which was one of the gigs they were doing as a friend of ours, Joe Ignacio. And my future wife just happened to be performing with them. And so she's blonde, blue-eyed, green-eyed American, but she sang Filipino songs.
Oh.
Classic Filipino songs, whatever. And so she was there and she was setting up, and Orlando was setting up, and they had the whole stage. And I said, I don't know if we want to share the stage with you. So I gave her a hard time as a way of flirting with her. And then, I did a little sound engineering for her, and so she was good. Make sure she sounded better than Nonstop Boogie.
Yeah, you did.
Man.
Nice.
And I helped her break down, and so she was off. And then, we got married, moved in together, and then I DJ'd for her for the next 15 years while she still did her gigs.
Nice. So how did she get into singing Filipino songs?
So she worked with that Tito Reyes. I don't know if you're familiar with Tito Reyes.
Damn, Daly City.
So, a restaurant in Daly City, and they had bands there, and they had the Katindig Brothers, I believe it was there, which is a Filipino jazz band. Mm-hmm. And she was bartending at the restaurant, but she was also pretty musical. She wrote her own songs and she played the guitar, so she started jamming with them. And then she started learning some Filipino songs, and she figured, well, why not do this on the side? And she started doing that as basically her career. Mm-hmm. So she started doing Filipino songs, picking up new songs, learning new songs with what was called -1 back then, which is the music songs without the lyrics, but the full, composed songs. So she'd pick up the tapes, learn the lyrics, learn the enunciation and everything, and learn how to speak and sing in Tagalog properly with different dialects. And she had a pretty good gig. She did a lot of mostly Filipino venues, weddings, different events. She would perform with a couple of older classical Filipino singers like Polita Corrales and Carmen Soriano. We even did some events with some of the former Philippine president, Joseph Estrada, and some other things like that. And so she would sing, and during her breaks within her sets, I DJ for her. And we did that for almost 15 years. We were doing 30, 40 gigs a year.
Wow.
For several years.
Nice.
And this was all just using so I set her up. So she started out with these Bose 301s. I don't know if you know what those are, but they're Bose speakers that have, I believe, three speakers within them, or column size speakers that are maybe a foot by 3 foot tall. And she put them on these ultimate stands. And she had a 4-track Yamaha recorder with a mixer, Yamaha SPX90 sound effects, and a mic. And that was her whole setup, and plus an amp. So I bumped up her gig and her gear and brought her up with some other gear. And so I was her roadie, and we'd load all that up in a small van. We did that for several years, doing other gigs, and we were going up and down the state. We're getting gigs in SoCal from families that wanted her to sing because she sang Filipino songs.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then after that, I guess after you guys kind of, because you said for another 15 years after that, I'm assuming she stopped kind of touring or.
Yeah, we got burned out.
Yeah. And then do you still DJ today?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, one of our more popular gigs was I don't know if you know who Cheryl Burke is. She's a dancer.
Yep.
Dancing with the Stars. So we were hired by her mom, Sherry Burke, and they have a house in Atherton. And so we did gigs at their house for about 3 or 4 years, and plus her on her business too. She has a side business where she runs a nursing service. So we did gigs at her house, and one year, Cheryl, I think she was about maybe 12 or 13 years old. She was with a dance company, and they set up a dance floor in their driveway with a tent, and there's some Russian dancers there, and they're dancing, and the dance floor was kind of slanted, and it was slippery, so that was pretty cool. So there was some pretty cool gigs we had.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
And so Rene, I know you said in your bio, and you kind of touched upon this. So your group Electric Sounds, you guys were really only around from hold on, what were the years again? It was from 79, right, to like 82, 83. So I guess if you kind of touched upon it, so kind of what happened there, and then after that, like what were you doing? Because you were still DJing, and you kind of were spinning for a while after that.
Yeah, when I started DJing, because when we first started, I was actually part of the light crew. I wasn't really into the DJing part, and when one day we went to Studio West, and we were trying to get in as 14-year-olds. At 2 p.m. at 2 a.m. they let the 18 and overs go in, and luckily my sister-in-law Millie Santos, she was standing at the front door with the bouncers, and she snuck us in. She got us in through the bouncers, and I got to meet DJ Mickey. From that day, he was the main DJ at that time. This is pre-Cameron Paul days. From that day, he gave me a demo tape. I just fell in love with it, and it was a bug. It was a bug, and I got bit, and I just kept at it. So even after Electric Sounds disbanded in '82, I'd go along like with I went out with Orlando that one time. I went out with some other groups that formed at Lowell. Went out with them, and then when I joined the Air Force in '84. I would sometimes go to the NCO club, mix there. And then there were sometimes I would go some underground clubs in San Francisco. DOS Club, my friend Joey Ozon used to DJ there. So he'd let me jump on the table and just kept that. Then it kind of went away after I got married, we had kids. And then I started DJing again in Vallejo. And I partnered up with Anthony Carrion, and we ended up spinning together for a good 10 years, doing mobile gigs. Yeah. So kept at it. Still do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It never leaves you completely.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It's in the blood, right? in talking with a lot of the DJs, a lot of their kids ended up not DJing. But for you, Rene, your son actually stuck to it. Can you tell us about that?
After my son was born, when he was attending elementary school here in Benicia, I started doing the elementary school gigs, the Mary Farmer gigs. And I brought him along, and he got bit right away. I mean, he would not get off the turntables. So I started letting him mix in middle school. And as he got into high school, I would even drive him and pick him up from his gigs. He would gig around Vallejo, and then he started just getting bigger. He got into clubs. He was DJing at a club, I believe, before he was 18 years old in San Francisco. And then he became the main DJ at USF. He opened up for Macklemore, a bunch of EDM concerts. So he took it to another level. I'm very proud of him about that. He goes by the name of DJ Devarock.
Also, your wife was a DJ too, or was she more of a different part of the crew?
No, yeah. So Amy was the main DJ. Daphne was,
Okay.
she was like me. She's kind of a bit of a ham, so she liked to be on the mic. So she even had a rap, I believe, at that time.
Oh, really?
Right, Orlo? She had a rap. Yeah. So she was more the MC person.
Nice. Awesome.
But you know what? She was probably my biggest supporter. And that's one of the things that kept me going is she would always encourage me. And she encouraged my son, Royce. And she used to go to his gigs at the clubs, even though we were way out of our element already. We're like 40 years old going to clubs, but yeah.
I think I fizzled off in like 1988. I was with SBC, then, hanging out with my cousin Lando. He said, "Hey, man, you want to gig with me?" Sure. Okay, go help out, whatever. And it just ended up, started DJing together. It was fun times, man. Fun times,
Yeah. You hop back and forth between SBC and Nonstop Boogie.
Pretty much.
Right. Yeah. And then eventually, I think you said in 97, you, I guess, officially retired.
I didn't really have like something to stick as far as jobs. I was in and out of jobs. Man, if I last 2 years, man, I was finding another job for a better opportunity. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it came to a point, I had to put my ass down and try to find, a career. You know what I mean? As far as DJing, I know everybody made a career out of DJing, but I didn't see myself going towards that route,
Mm-hmm.
But other guys, did and made it successful for themselves, man. I'm more props to them, doing that. They're doing what they love,
Yeah.
But, it's kind of like I fizzled out from it. I kind of grew from that, all the hype, been there, done that,
Mm-hmm. So for you, Orlando, you're actually still rocking it with Nonstop Boogie. It definitely seems like you've been a mentor to a lot of people, like when it came to the Go-Go's and then eventually these new people.
Can you tell us about that?
So when I was brought into Nonstop Boogie, that meant the world to me. And I took everything to heart, man. All the DJ and all the gigs, I did it as best as I could. It took me a while to listen. Joey, I'm sorry. These guys, man, they had just the biggest influence on me, man. They're pretty much the guys that molded me to who I am. I learned how to become a gentleman through those guys. Those guys changed me. I wasn't too easy to deal with back in the days. So when Joey passed the torch, Joey's like, "Hey, just keep Nonstop going." And I took that to heart, man. And I could not let these guys down because they did not let me down. They had patience with me. They accepted me. My mission in life from that point on was to keep it going. And as you go through DJing, people fall off. Some people get tired of carrying records. Some people get tired of setting up. Some people get tired of breaking down. It just wears on them. And I couldn't let it go. And there was times where I was almost by myself. And, coming across the right folks, like when Lawrence came in, that was an absolute blessing. He helped me keep it going. Al Perfecto, man. We knew each other from back in the high school days, but I ran into him coming from a job in San Leandro at a traffic light. We recognized each other, so we pulled over, and then we started talking about what was up with each other's lives. And I was kind of getting tired of what I was doing as a stereo installer. And he's like, "Hey, there's an opening coming up at our work." So me and Al would work together from 1990 to probably about 2000 or somewhere around that. So that right there, running into Al, man, that was coming across a guy like Al, man. Al is connected like Lawrence. And those led to other people coming into the group. Lawrence, if it wasn't for Lawrence, we would have never gotten together with the V-Tuck brothers, the Beat, our boy Big D, Dennis Tamandong, rest in peace, my bro. A lot of guys that Lawrence brought in, man, was like permanent. They became permanent fixtures, and see, after that, I run into like Paul Styles. How I run into Paul Styles and Patrick and Kevin Brown, Method Entertainment. My niece Regina was dating Christian Viray in high school. It's about meeting the right folks, man. That's where I have my luck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, meeting like Joey and Rene. It's all a blessing to me. The just the people I met. That's where all my luck is at.
So Joey, you sent me these 2 pictures.
Yeah, so Olo's not there because for whatever reason he couldn't make one of our annual meetups. That's the OG crew right there. There's Henry Herbert, far left, Andy Mazga, who printed our first business cards while he was in a print shop class at Balboa. And me, Ed Genoblazzo with the hat. He did all our posters and stuff. Dino, my younger brother, he's our master DJ with me. Ted Harper, one of our crew guys, and then Willie Sparks on the far right, who's our co-founder.
Is that the original jacket?
That's the original jacket, yeah.
Wow. If you guys were to talk to your younger selves back in the 80s, what would you guys say?
Go to school.
Good.
I would say stop cutting class.
Go, yeah.
Stop cutting class.
Hey, man. The one day when I went to school, man, I drive up. I'm like, why's everybody got cap and gowns on? And that was the year I was supposed to graduate.
That's stupid, bro.
I skipped so much school the day I showed up, man. I showed up on graduation. Yeah. I said, "Oh, damn, I didn't graduate."
Looking back, what we didn't have, I think nobody had in those early days was an actual MC or rapper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So imagine if you did have an MC or a rapper back then. That's just like that would have like game changer, right? So I think just originality, if you're really trying to get into it. And nowadays with all the technology, it's like you can create your own music, right?
Yeah. Like
back
Anthony had everybody. He had dancers, rappers, beatboxers.
Yeah,
I mean, he had solid gold.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, back then you had vinyl, but then you could also create mixtapes. I mean, Rene brought up DJ Mickey at Studio West. DJ Mickey had pre-mix set lists on reel-to-reel. Quarter-inch reel-to-reel. I'd watch him on the upper deck at Studio West, and he'd flick that reel-to-reel on, and he'd mix it right in. He didn't have all the technology nowadays. He had 2 turntables with his Bozak mixer and a reel-to-reel, and he'd mix it right in flawlessly. Just the originality. I mean, nowadays you can do so much if you really wanted to.
Oh man, Serato brought out the guys that were actually doing the lights and doing the sound system, man.
Yeah, but it's funny because even until this day, you can tell a real DJ mix versus somebody that's just trying. Anybody can put 2 songs together, but knowing which instruments to blend, how long to hold the bar, through how many bars, that's still an art. And you can separate
absolutely.
the good ones from the bad ones.
You've got to spend hours really knowing your music, knowing the records, knowing the beats, and getting all that and then building your set, doing that.
Lawrence identified the record by the cover and where it was at in a crate.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what we all do.
You had all your crates separated, right? With your funk, your hip hop, your disco, your house music, your rock, 80s music, whatever. Yeah, you have to have that your set list, right? What were you gonna play? What was the crowd like? And you never know until you put that first song on, and depending on your crowd. I remember we did a dance for Lowell, and I put on Rock Lobster with B-52s. Dude, we had them doing the Rock Lobster dance on the dance floor, laying on their backs.
Was there an actual dance called the Rock Lobster, dude?
Yeah, B-52.
Yeah. There was actually a dance called the Rock Lobster.
Yeah.
Actually a dance, huh?
Yeah, you just never know.
So Ren, DJ Ren, what would you tell your younger self?
From a DJ standpoint, I would say, I had so much love for it. I didn't think of the professional side and maybe taking it higher in the clubs and trying harder in the clubs. I wish I would have tried. I would have loved to see what I could do in the bigger clubs. But yeah, that's about it. But other than that, main thing was school. That's what that's why I was so proud of my son, because I told him that's what, I would like sneak in and do a set here and there at one club or another. Actually, I did do this one club up in Nob Hill, but I never took it like to that next level, and he got to, and I was proud of him for doing that.
Definitely, that's awesome.
Yeah. Don't miss a college calculus final to go do a gig at some high school.
Yeah.
So what advice would you guys give to younger DJs coming up?
Practice your craft.
Practice. Yep. All the new guys, on in the digital era, go play on some turntables, go play on some wax, and take the reference away from your eyes, Serato or whatever you're using. Take all that away. You got BPM. It's telling you how much BPM a record is. Like Apollo, these cats is shortcutting. They put the laptop to the side if you didn't notice. Because they keep their game old school, man. Even though they're using new technology, they keep their game old school. Like when it was analog, man, you needed a monitor to hear the song, right, that you're mixing into. You needed a monitor. Shoot, nowadays you don't even need a headphone. I mean, try the old way. Try the old way, and it'll elevate your game. Trust me.
We're gonna wrap it up. Want to say thank you guys. Thank you, Orlando, Lawrence, Joey, Renee. Thank you guys for having a quick little chat with us and talking about the I guess the good old days. Is there any last things you guys wanted to say to the chat?
If I could, I just want to give a shout out to my crew. In case I forgot to mention the name: Ted Kubanar, Rico Benapayo, Alfredo Ruelas, Tiger Tapia, Jupiter Tapia, Joel Mercado, Joven Mallorca, and Augie Remo.
R.I.P. Joven.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just got to shout out my boy Ern Lamato, Joe Ignacio. Those guys were part of us. Yeah, those guys, man, they're a big part of us back in the days, man. I had to shout those guys out. Cameron Paul, man, rest in peace. He was a big inspiration to all of us, man.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, this man right here.
King Splicer.
That's the one.
Oh, one more shout out for my cousin Cubert. Sorry.
Cubert, yes. Cubert.
Of course.
Apollo, who I'm, we still work closely together. Short, we talk every now and then. Still, we stay in touch. Man, it's just all DJs out there. Just keep it going and shoot. There are still crews around. I just want to make correct to that.
Yeah,
I've heard. Hey, there's no more crews around. There are still crews around. Yeah. SBC is still around too as a crew. Yeah, Brian B. Shout out to Brian B. Keeping that going.
Hold on, real quick.
And shout out to TJ Maxx and the
TJ Maxx,
SBC crew, Rick Lee.
Mm-hmm.
All y'all, man.
All right, and
Big Rob.
Big Rob. Hey, but JR, man, thank you for putting it together.
And
Fred.
Thanks for having us.
JR, thank you for having us on.
If you guys want, definitely follow our channel. Thank you guys so much. And,
thanks, JR.
Yeah, thank you.
Right on, JR. Thank you.
Right on, JR.